Hi, my name is Bill Crawford, and I'm going to take you through looking at comparing clipXE and clipITC, just going through some of the processes that are in both programs to show you how they're the same and how they differ. Just as in the way of introduction, the two programs actually think very much alike, even though the layout and the navigations are different between them. So I think eventually you'll get to see that if you're familiar with clipXE and how the process goes, you'll see the similarities, and that should make it easier to learn clip ITC. Alright, so let's start at the beginning. When you first open up clipXE, you will get a login screen, and so you just go ahead and put in your user ID here to open the program. And likewise, when you go to clipITC, you come here, and I have mine memorized, but you would type in your email and your password to open the program. This is the main screen of Clip ITC, and as you can see, it looks significantly different than what we were looking at a moment ago in clipXE. You navigate through these tabs at the top. So some of the terminology we use, and it could be a little bit confusing, these would be considered tabs, and then underneath these would be considered subtabs. Now this also is a tab in your browser. So just as we talk about tabs and subtabs, this will be what we're talking about here. And likewise in clipXE, this is the home page, something for which you're familiar. Now in terms of some foundational setups, in clipXE and always in clip for 30 some years, you would set up what are called patterns. So here's a section where you have pattern customers. All right, don't know why they got that. So here's the pattern customers. Here are pattern jobs, and here are pattern programs for programs and rounds. The purpose of patterns is to make it easier to set up the program, because you're able to copy a lot of information in rather than doing the data entry every time. That means when you add a customer who happens to live in Anthem, Arizona, you can just copy from this and you'll have the name of the city, state, zip code, potential area codes, etc. already filled in. Again, the goal is to save you some time. Likewise, pattern jobs, when you set up a customer, you copy from this list, and this could also be considered a master list of your services you provide. And so for mow and trim, we have some basic information like a crew number. We don't have pricing, because pricing is unique to each customer. Schedule, the typical schedule for our area for mowing. Notes are usually set up specifically on a customer by customer basis, but you might have some boilerplate type information you put there, as well as adding materials that might be associated with the job. And then finally, you have the pattern programs here. If you do fertilization or pest control, you can create these programs and rounds for that. Alright, so here we are in clipITC. As I say, it looks quite a bit different. We'll come back to the screen in a moment, but since we were talking about patterns, those are here under the Patterns tab. And then you've got sub-tabs, pattern customers, pattern jobs, pattern programs, plus you've got some other types of functions here that we may look at, or those might be a little more in-depth, but we'll see if we get to those during one of these sessions. So again, pattern customers, same thing. You click edit to modify these. You can add new patterns here by add. A tip though, pattern customers are not quite as useful in ITC, because in clipITC we integrate with Google Maps. That means when you are setting up a new customer and you start to type in the address for the account, it will pull up addresses for you to select from. It will do kind of an autofill, including filling in the name of the city, state, zip code, etc. So I would say that if you don't get wrapped around the axle about pattern customers. Now, as an XE user, your patterns will all come over during the conversion, as well your customers, schedules, history, etc. Alright, pattern jobs, similar thing. So here's our list. Again, we click edit. And some of these screens actually look a lot more similar to XE. So here's where you would begin to set up the pattern job. You'd have the crew assignment. Again, the charge per job is left at 0, typically set up when you add this to the customer. Bill type, schedule. Here's how you'd set your typical schedule for the service for your area. Again, materials here. And then you've got pattern programs here. Again, very similar to what you have in Clip XE for setting up patterns. Now, by the way, you may see me look at something or point something out that you're not utilizing in either program, and you're certainly welcome to get training in that. We offer free training, virtual training. So if you do see, if you say, oh, those programs, what is that? We don't use those, then we can go ahead and get those, get you some training in using them in your situation. Alright, so just to pause for a moment, what we're doing is we're comparing Clip XE and Clip ITC, and we've just looked at some of the foundational stuff, so to speak, of patterns and setting those up. So again, both programs think the same way. We have you copy from patterns, not only to help with setup, but also to create consistency in reporting. So you can always know that job number 1 is mowing, and you can get a report about job number 1, or do a global change in job number 1 and be confident that it's only affecting your mowing services. Now we move into actually using the program. So we start by in Clip XE. You've got the buttons here as well as the drop-down menus to navigate. I will be navigating from the buttons. You want to locate a customer, you click Customer List. Here's your customer list, and then you just start typing in the name of the account, Marcus Mariota, and hit select, and now you're in the customer's account. In Clip ITC, I'm going to show you a little trick. So here we're in the patterns section. Now let's say you're doing some work in patterns and the phone rings and you need to talk to a customer. If you click customers here, it's going to obviously take you out of the patterns, and you'll have to navigate back to that. You can also float your cursor on the tab in the program, right click on your mouse, and hit open link in new tab and see what happens. So up here in your browser you have another tab, which is that customer section. So when you're done talking to the customer, you can come back here and continue what you were doing when the phone rang. So here's the customer screen. We're in the customer tab, first tab of the series of tabs across the top. Here you see a list of all your customers on the left, and then whichever is selected, you see some more details, kind of an overview of that customer. One difference between Clip ITC and Clip XE is that Clip ITC allows you to search a little more, it has a more generous search function, meaning that in Clip XE, if you do a search for someone, we'll come back out, you do it based on basically the last name or the customer number. So that's why I started typing the last name of Marcus Mariota. Oops. And there, now we've selected him. In Clip ITC, as I said, it's a little bit more generous. So if I have a customer, Bob Hope, I can come in and I can search based on Bob. So here's Bob Hope here. I could have searched Hope. That also would have gotten me the customer. So then you just come over here to the list and click on what you want. So just having displayed it here, it's not quite enough. You have to click on the actual name. Now before we go deeper into the customer information, you have here customer details. This would be the billing information. property details, that's where work actually occurs. So billing is where you send the bill, where mail goes, and that could be a P.O. box, and versus the property details as to where the account is actually located for your crew to go. You see over on the right, you've got kind of a quick history of what's been going on in the account recently. Then down here, you've got the services that the customer has. You can navigate from the screen, which means if you wanted to check out history, you could just click on one of the history items here and it would take you into the history for this customer. You can also click on a job and it will take you into that job for the customer. And here, to go into the customer account, you can double click on the name on the list or hit one of these View More buttons on this screen. So we'll hit View More here. Now we're into Bob Hope's account. And to go back to XE, so we're in Marcus Mariota, and you've got the property, billing information, phone numbers, email, etc. One difference between the two programs, you have in Clip XE a lot of customizable fields down here that you can set up. You don't really have these in Clip ITC, but what you have instead is what's called the account notes. So let's say Fred Flintstone is an account manager of yours and you want that information here. Well, you can come down to this section, account notes, type in Fred Flintstone, and then you save it. So there's a save button up here. And Fred Flintstone or whatever other information here could now be available if you wanted to create a report. So if you did want a report of all the customers assigned to your account manager, Fred Flintstone, you could go to Custom Reports and create a report and saying the account notes contains Flintstone or Fred. And then it would pull up a report where all the customers match that criterion that the account notes contains Fred or Flintstone. So just so the lack of the individual fields means that you can use this account notes as an alternative for tracking that information. The information in those fields doesn't come over in the conversion, so you would have to go through each customer and reassign the account manager to them in this example. Continuing on this screen, you've got your source drop-down menu here. Again, you've got that in your Clip XE. You've got email addresses here, phone numbers here. Here you've got the ability to flag this customer to get email invoices, as well as some notifications. And we won't look at this feature. It's not, I mean, it's a great feature, but we find it's not utilized that much. And it's available in both programs. So we've got now, we're in the customer screen, and in the Clip ITC you navigate then from these links on the left hand side. Now these links are pretty different from the links you've got in XE. I mean, there's some overlap, but for instance in Clip ITC you have properties. One thing that Clip ITC allows you to do that Clip XE does not is setting up multiple locations for a single customer. If the customer will accept one bill with all the work on multiple locations, then this is how you would set that up. And so for each property you've got then the address for that particular location, etc. One other difference between the two programs is what are called packages. Packages here, this is where you would set up installments. So here we have something called Snow Installment. Back in XE, installments are set up under Financials and then Installments here. With Clip ITC, not only do you set up the installments, but as we'll see in a moment, this installment package has certain services that are associated with it. So in this case, snow removal and shoveling at Bob Hope office are included in this installment. Under pay per service, then these three jobs, lawn maintenance, Kim Round 2, and spring cleanup, are included in a pay per service package. Packages are a way of grouping together services based on how the services are paid for. And we can talk more about this as you make the transition if you have questions. And by the way, we have good articles about these different topics at help.clip.com. Okay, continuing looking at the customer screen, you then have jobs here. So here now is the job list for this account. Again, you've got the list of properties here. Whichever property you choose, you have the packages associated with that property, and then you have the jobs that are within that package. And so here you have the jobs tab, so we click here. And here you've got the jobs that this customer has. Blue means they are active, and red means these are on hold for that. And you've got the columns kind of giving you more information here. Whatever job you've selected over here in the job list, you'll see job details here. So this is where you would put the charge, what actual crew does it. And then down here you would put the schedule in here and add materials. Again, back in Clip XE, you go to the job you want, so mow and trim all. Here's where you have the price, man-hour rating. Here's where you have the schedule. Again, very kind of similar fields, if not exactly the same layout for that. Notes are here in Clip XE. You have the translation capability. In Clip ITC, notes are down here, add notes. You've got the same note fields here, plus you have the ability to add other media. If your crews use the app in the field on an iPad, for instance, they can then have an audio file. You can attach an audio file to this, telling them what they need to do, a brief video file showing them, or photographs of the property that will help them do the job. Clip ITC gives you then ways to communicate with your crew beyond just the written notes that you have here. Okay, so again, the jobs are fairly self-explanatory in that regard, and same with the scheduling. You've got a view schedules option here, so this can show you a calendar screen where you would see what the proposed schedule is. So this job, it's basically done next month, so from May, so it's not really a good schedule setup to display that, but you do have that calendar view in the Clip ITC. Alright, now before I go any farther, what I want to do is I want to backtrack a little bit. So I'm going to come back to another tab, and I'm going to go to Customers, because one thing I want to show you is how to add a customer. So we're going to kind of take a break from being in the middle of looking through the customer section to talk about adding a customer. In Clip ITC, in this tab, the customer, under Find Customer, you have this New Customer button here. Now, to start with what you're familiar with, we come back to here, and you go to Customer List, and you go to Add New here. Now, you also have an Add New button up here, but we'll start with the Customer List. So we come here, hit Add New. It gives me a chance to give a customer number or accept what customer number it is suggesting. So I hit Save. Here are my list of customers. So I want to choose Phoenix. And then I can choose the property name, address, etc. here. And then hit Save, and I've added a new customer. This is a process that no doubt you're familiar with. In Clip ITC, so I come here to New Customer, and it immediately brings up my list of patterns. So I could choose a pattern here, or I'm going to hit, and if you need to create a pattern, you can create it at this stage if you need to. So let's say you get a call from someone you've never, in an area of your service community, you've not really offered services before, but you decide you're going to, you can add the pattern from here. But at this point, I'm just going to hit Close. And so notice you've got a blank screen here. So I'm just going to go through, and it gives us an account number. So we're going to hit John Travolta, and customer since, and any of the fields with a little asterisk are required. So you've got first name, last name. It creates the display name for us. We've got these asterisks here next to certain fields. So he's going to be a customer starting today. And then we come down here, select source. He did an internet search to find us. And then the address is going to be 318. Now notice we're getting suggestions here. Oh, and there he is, 318 West Patrick Street, Frederick, Maryland. So I don't have to finish typing. I just come here, select that, and see it filled in Frederick, filled in the zip code, filled in the state. So that's what I was saying earlier. Having a pattern customer is maybe not quite as useful as it was with ClipXE and some of our other earlier versions. I can then also put in the email address, his name, phone number, etc. while on the screen, and I hit save. And now he is I've now added the customer. Likewise, when you've added a customer, you want to add services to the account. So here we'll just go into Nick Blaine here. So let's pretend this is a new customer. So I go to jobs here. Now he already has some jobs, but the process is the same. So then you hit add, and you get then your list of pattern jobs. Now, one thing that was different in XE, so if you've been a long-time Clip user with Clip Desktop or some of our earlier programs, then you notice in Clip XE, and this is similar in Clip ITC, is once he has a certain job, it's not available for you to add that job again. So it's been dropped from the list of pattern jobs. We have job 1, mow and trim all, and then we have, but it's not here on the list. Again, that's to help with the consistency, which is so important with software. Also to help you make sure you get good reports. So you would just check off the jobs you want to add and hit copy jobs, and that would populate the list for the new account. Again, very similar process here. So I come to except there's one step in between for ITC. We go to properties here, and if he has, let's say he has some he has an installment with us, I can come here and say I want this to be an installment account, and I go here, the contract starts today and it's going to end, we're going to go through the end of 2022, so I can check here and choose December 2022, okay, and now I'm in December and choose the 31st, or I could have just typed in that, choose whether taxes or not, and then I come in here and I put in the monthly amount. Oops, got to turn on my num lock. Yeah, so this is a little more data entry than the other program where you can autofill all the months with the installment amount. Okay, so then I save this. Now he's also going to have potentially some additional services. Oh, by the way, I should change this to something a little more intelligible than just default package. So I'm going to say installment. And then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to add another package. And I'm going to call this additional work, because this is work that will only be done as he calls and might. So for instance, if gutter cleaning isn't part of his installment, he can call and get that done. We'd add it to the additional work. Alright, so we set up the packages, then we go to jobs, and when you first click on jobs, it'll take you to your patterns. We're going to close this out and come back here. So you got installment, additional work. So I want to add the installment jobs first. So this package is selected. I come here to the jobs, the add here in the jobs column. And now here are the jobs patterns. So I hit lawn maintenance, spring cleanup. He's going to get the detail and the fall cleanup. And I hit add and close. And here now are the jobs I've added under the installment. And notice it says including contract, and then I just go through the normal process of setting up the job, entering the price, making sure it's got the right crew, giving it a good start date for this, checking what day of the week it is, etc. So that's pretty similar to what you have in Clip XE and what you're accustomed to doing. So that's how you add a new customer, and within the customer then set up the jobs. So let's go back to where we were before, back to Bob Hope, looking at jobs. Okay, just to kind of give you a quick overview of the rest of these links, and we'll compare those where relevant to Clip XE. Adjust package. This allows you to move services from one package to another. So if he calls you let's say for 2022, he wants the spring cleanup, bush trimming detail, and lawn over in the installment, you can drag and drop them between packages. Estimates. This is a new feature, so I'm not going to go into it. You can see the videos on that at YouTube or our help article on that, or give us a call. But this is something new to Clip ITC that XE really doesn't have. To-dos. To-dos are what are known in Clip XE as the CMS. So we come in here, we're in the customer, we go to correspondence, and under correspondence we have CMS. So the CMS is basically a note you can take after interacting with the customer, or a reminder you can set up, and it will then appear on your screen on the date, the due date you set up. If a customer calls you today and tells you, hey, can you give me a quote on snow removal, and you're going to do those in September or October, you could come in, set up the future date, call it an estimate, and then do wants estimate on snow removal, for instance, for that. And in ITC, again, here it is under to-dos. So if I hit edit, you'll see they look very, very similar in the forms here. So this is where, and you can assign it to different people in the organization who have access to Clip. And the way these show up in Clip ITC, so let me come back and I'm going to do my little magic trick of opening this in a new tab. This orange bar shows the user that there's some to-dos waiting for him or for her. And so there they are, and if you click on it, it'll take you to that account. So that's how the to-dos or CMS feature works in Clip ITC. History is history, so it's pretty self-explanatory here. Except one nice thing, you've got more information about any given line item. So here's this irrigation repair from back on the 12th. You've got the pricing here. You would have a list of materials recorded, which employee or employees were on the job here. You'd actually be able to see what notes that were associated with the job at that visit. That way, if you get a complaint from a customer, you can go back and you can see whether the notes contain the directions for the crew, and so the crew just failed to read them, or whether someone failed to put the notes in there for the crew to see. Weather conditions. And one thing different here, you can have job pictures. So if you do use the app, like I mentioned, iPhone, iPad, then your crews can take a picture before and after, and they'd be stored here in the account. Documents, oh, by the way, and the history, of course, in Clip XE is here in the customer screen. So here's history. Then you've got documents here. So these are documents we've saved within this customer. So you can have access to them wherever you have access to the program. And so back in XE, again, the same thing is here under correspondence and office. So this is where you can add files to the customer's account. And then finally, invoices. So here's this is different in Clip ITC. These are all the invoices associated with this account. And so this gives you the ability to reprint an invoice from a specific customer, or even delete and correct an invoice if needed. Alright, I'm going to wrap up this phase. This is about a half an hour, so you probably need a cup of coffee, and we will do some more videos showing the next stages of working day to day in the program. Thanks for your attention.